Well, hello, my heavenly tea friends, New Earth Mamas. Hi. I have two lovely women, Locket, Jen Cusamano, coming on to share their experiences with who or what. That is the question. We are going to have a look at some other beings, some photographs where I took their small pieces of film, captured, slowed them down, and we've taken some stills. You're going to find out about these two women. I can assure you there are many more waiting in the queue, and over the next few weeks I'm going to be talking to a lot of them. So please welcome. Jen is about to come in, and hopefully any moment we'll have Lou. And I'm going to be sharing the screen so that you will be able to see what we can see. Jen, hello! I'm sure you'll appear in vision, full splendor any second. Hello, hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm excited to talk to you.
Me too. I just read an article the other night and everything's clicking into place and I'm just feeling
It's nuts, isn't it? Synchronicity is just kind of goes a little crazy when it gets going.
yeah.
Jen,
Very
how about we
true.
just look, let's take synchronicity. Let's start with you. I want to play. I've got the screen ready to play the slow, just a tiny clip of your slowed down, beautiful photography and some images. But I'd love people to hear about you because, apart from the fact that it's lovely to know something about you, because so many more people are now seeing all kinds of things and on the alert for all kinds of things because of those drones, of course.
Yeah.
By people like us just sharing what we're going through and who we are, it helps other people to make that lovely trustful sense of it. So you shared some amazing things with me. Where do we start? Let's think. What would you say is the path that led you to seeing what you've seen? Now hold that thought a moment because Lucy's just about to turn up. So we just got Lou arrived as well, and I'm going to pose the same question to you so you can mull over it in the background, Lou, which is, what brought you, do you think, in your mind, to see these beings that you're now seeing? So, Jen, floor is yours. What do you think?
Well, I think your prompt to just watch that video that you had the discussion with the gentleman on your YouTube about the FAE, I thought was a really good way of like getting me into it. So I just did a bit of journaling as to what came up for me while I watched your video, so that helped. And I don't know if we'll have time for me to read verbatim, so I'm just gonna glance at it so that I'll have little talking points. I've always loved the idea of fairies and fairy houses and playing out in summer camp. I would go to like a summer camp throughout the summer. It's just a day program when not in school, and we would have a free time in the morning, and I just remember exploring, and just my imagination would run wild, and I would just make little fairy houses, and I just wanted to be in that realm, in that world. And so for me it was more of like wanting, and also anything paranormal, anything unusual. I've just always been open and really loved and been drawn to all of that. And so for me, I didn't necessarily have like a bunch of trinkets or decorations around my home or room that were fairy related, though I did love Peter Pan. Um, but yeah, I've just always loved that. And then it's funny because as I've grown older, and as I had my spiritual awakening in like 2012 onward, I learned about Reiki healing. And then as soon as I had this Reiki healing session in 2014, I said, this is a modality I need to learn to use. And from then on, I just began my awakening process. And I have read some books on the Fae. Um, and specifically, honestly, in the last few years, though, I would say 2020 was the year that I said, I was like, I need to learn and connect more about, connect with the Fae and learn more about them. I just felt it was time. And so I got this lovely deck that I was drawn to, the Fairies Oracle by
Now,
Brian Froud. And the
where's
art,
my book? Yeah.
and he's the one who did like was it Bright Crystal and the Labyrinth. He was the
Dark crystal,
illustrator.
really.
Dark crystal, yes. Thank you.
Right.
And so I just love that, and honestly the energy came through really strongly. It's just very joyful and creative, and it was like a creative muse. And I linked up with a guy on Facebook, and we were sharing our creative writing together, and it was just very potent, very jubilant. I just loved the energy, and I have since connected with a guide, not extensively, but I have a fairy guide named Willow, and we with that deck we were instructed to draw what they looked like, and so I picked from my mind's eye what she looked like. Very wispy, very wiry, very, she had these little antennae, and I think I drew wings, so that's just how I saw it. So there's that, and then and also I'll try not to bounce around too much. I do have ADHD, and also when I talk about what resonates, I get excited. So
Oh,
I'm probably in good company.
I suffer from that too. So I think it's a good suffering, and I would never ever limit you.
Thank you so much. So as well as connecting with the Fae, and just I've had other people say, you have a fairy princess of the flower garden energy. Like you have that. I'm like, okay, sure. And it was very fairy like colors of like lavender and like traipsing through flower fields. I'm like, okay, that sounds like my inner heart. And I've recently switched over from sidereal, from tropical astrology to true sidereal. I won't get into that, but I feel it's more soul aligned, and it's more it represents the energy we came to embody, and our soul essence, as opposed to tropical, which I feel is a little bit more limiting, and it shows more of like our shadow and our the collective consciousness. And again, you can find truth in any system, but I've plugged into the true sidereal, which reflects where the constellations actually are in the sky, and that's only really been like the past couple months, mid-October, and it just finally fully clicked into place. And I've been working through my North Node, which is in Aquarius, and my path is to really be like more philanthropic, and to really let myself be
frozen just for a moment, Jen, in case you can hear us.
So yeah, in past lives I was apparently someone of nobility or royalty or prominence, and so that Leonine energy, which is very strong in me, I'm learning to let that go, that overdeveloped ego, which it's funny because I've never considered myself someone to be ruled by that energy, but it makes sense because I'm someone who kind of feels the need to really be respected, and I do have certain expensive tastes and things. So it just is all clicking into place, but it's also like I do have this heart for my divine mission, and to just support the earth and humanity's ascension process and everything. And so it just, within honestly the past several weeks even, it's really been clicking in. And then this sighting I had last Thursday, a gentleman who also plugged in with me in that same post, that he also studies Mayan astrology, and he's like, do you know your Mayan birth date? And I said, I don't. And it turns out that day was my Mayan birth date that we were talking. 12/12, the 12/12 portal was the same astrological sign as my birth date. And he's like, there's like a 0.0% chance of that. And so it was just remarkable. Another book that I recommend that I've only just begun, but I've been resonating with elven beings and the she. And this is, again, one I've only just started, but I do feel I have a guide, an elven guide, and I think her name is Sandy. I have barely begun to work with her. I'm still like, am I really working with her or not? It's an interesting realm to work with, but I have glimpsed myself in a past life. My intention during a meditation was to see a past life self. And I saw an elven woman, a very elegant, very grounded, earthy, just elven woman. And I've spoke to a mentor of mine, and she's like, "You weren't seeing a past self. That's like a future." So regardless, I even told her, I'm like, the Lord of the Rings and all of this stuff, like I just resonate. She's like, "Well, maybe you're from a realm or a place that was like Middle Earth."
We've been in many places, haven't we, Jen? It's just, I could have made sort of 20 bullet points out of there, and probably they're all going to apply to both Lou and myself. What do you think, Lou? Yeah. Yes,
I think that's absolutely fascinating, and I'm in awe of what you're experiencing. I don't seem to get a cosmic link from the spiritual world or anything like that. So the fact that I saw these FAE folk was quite miraculous in itself, I think, for me.
But you've got flowers behind you, so tell us about your link to the Fae, because everything will fit in perfectly. You don't have to go out for your information. You can be going in, down, through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure where this link to the Fae come from. This is my first experience, so I've never been aware of it before. Actually, no, that's half a lie. I'm not sure if I had a Fae experience in my garden. I saw some twinkly lights in my grass at night. It could have been a reflection of the outside light, but I thought, well, it was just one light, like the glistening of a diamond ring or something, you know, coming out at me, and it was quite bright for it to catch my attention. So I asked if they were fairies and could they kind of glimmer that light as if I was right in seeing that, and it did. So much to my amazement, it's like, oh my word. And then I was so taken aback, I didn't really know what else to say, so I just shot them a whole load of compliments and thanked them for being there, and went inside.
Had a cup of tea, I hope. Cheers.
Yeah. Yes. So
let's I'm going to probe you a little bit in a moment, Lou, with some more background. But for now, this is a beautiful start, isn't it, for people to hear, because things are hotting up, aren't they? I mean, it's insane. Just for me doing that podcast, the Jeff Mara podcast, I have had 12 different people send me their images.
wow.
And the correspondence is crazy. You know, it's very exciting. And it's bringing loops in my mind too. Like, I realized that it was when I started writing these children's books years ago now, and I did a radio show before called Transmissions from the Planet Zog. And it turned out that Zog was us in the future, but there was a connection with inner Earth. And so then now I realize, oh, okay, I've been talking to these people for a long time. But you only start making these connections. Like, Jen, you were saying about, you know, I've got this beautiful willow. Probably you've always had an affinity for willow trees, I suspect.
I do, and there's 2 willows out in the field.
But of course.
My grandmother's house had a willow, a weeping willow.
Yeah, I mean, then you start to connect these dots. And you'll have a meeting with friends like we've got today, and then it starts to, you get those tangible experiences in your body as you start to kind of tingle up on certain synchronistic points. You know, someone tomorrow will hand you a picture of what willow looks like, or Lou, you'll suddenly get a memory. It's like, that also happened. You know, it's as though it's a sort of a point, a tipping point, and it feels very much, you know, this crazy. We're on the cusp of everything shifting with the planet. And this seems to be the beginning of that interaction. You know, when I started talking to these people and they were saying, you're going to see a lot more of us because we're going to be operating in the same space. That was exciting. I thought that was going to be in a few hundred years, you know, but no.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. Now, Lou, do you want to add anything more from this general, how you kind of got there, or shall we move on to sort of, I want to show the audience some of your images, the two of you. Would you like to
add? I mean, I haven't really got any more to add to that FAE story, really, because I kind of left it there. Just, I was going to say that my awakening began in 2018. The whole awakening, just not just a spiritual awakening, but I've just always loved mystical beings, dragons, unicorns, fairies, and I've always hoped really hoped that they were real at some point. So to hear all the channelers that I follow, you know, channel dragons and talk about fairies, and hearing Isabel, and yeah, it's like, yay, all my childhood dreams have come true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to have our own obstacles when we find out, you know, how to deal with dragon energy.
Well,
I'm
apparently it's
very out.
very gentle.
I'm
It's
not
very,
sure about dragons. I think because my ex-husband, who was a disaster for me, the difficult thing in my life was him and losing my children and then regaining them. So dragons and me don't get on too well, but we're going to find out lots more about that too. I mean, it's exciting, isn't it, to see what's in the fairy tales, what's the truth within all these stories, and then this range of different channelers with information that is true, like Corey Good. You know, when he came out with his information, he was ridiculed about 6 years later because his mind was so destabilized, he started suing everyone left, right, and center. And all of his wonderful work he'd done of uncovering, you know, these intraterrestrial beings was kind of thrown in the bin, in the trash can, because he became persona non gratis. You know, no one wanted to hang out with him. And that was obviously certain elements trying to keep this under wraps, but they can't, can they? If you, me, we three, and there are many, many, many more of us experiencing things, kind of gets a little bit nuts. So let's see, you're going to react to each other's images. I'm going to just share this screen and we should all appear on the screen somehow. Let's see, I hope. I'm going to start just with somebody else who's not here. Sounds a bit mad, doesn't it? So this lady, she, I don't know her yet. She just sent me an image, which is this. And you can see that she's got, you know, up to 6, maybe more, maybe that little tiny, it might be 7 or 8 even, of these same strange appearances. And so I took one and I had a look, and it seemed to correspond with what I've been seeing. So now let's just have a little look. I'd like you, Jen, to maybe talk, because I cut your sound out. We had that
Probably best. I was like speaking with my friends because I knew I was going to share this with them immediately afterwards. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys! I was very.
Yeah, it's going to move very slowly, and it's going to start off with this very small little. Oh, it's not. It is playing. It's just going super slow. Hang on. It should be actually playing. Yeah. So this is 5%. This is down, you know, 20th of the speed. And it's just to sort of show people what you were seeing through your camera. And then I'm going to fast forward it a little bit to the next section where I've just kind of blown it up so people can see again. This is basically what Jen was seeing through the camera, but knowing that there's something. It's something. Definitely someone, something. Now, this again, people can start to see there is this, you know, funny little thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up now. You talk about that.
Look at that. Yeah, it's funny because I think the clips. I think I sent you all of them, but in one of them, it's funny because I saw one in the corner, but it wasn't the one that caught my eye. And yeah, you can see little wisp out of the top, like somebody's sitting like little wispies are sitting in the ship. It's wild. Yeah, I saw activity, and my eyes are always trained on the sky and the clouds, so I just couldn't have to be looking. But what was just one thing, it turns out there may have been several, but yeah.
So just now we've got about 6, they're about 6 seconds long, just still, so people can start to sort of look at some of the shapes, because they'll notice these kind of similarities. That was nuts, that one, honestly.
Yeah.
And this is all from the same footage. Some of the colors are because I'm just explaining to audience, because when I go in and look for maximum contrast, the color values change, but look really at the form more than anything else.
Yeah. I saw activity and it yeah, I saw activity and it wasn't usual, and I saw like one bright light that I was like, it's either a ship or a star, but why is that other object or drone or was interacting with it? I'm like, it looks like it's gonna dock with the other one. What's happening? And then at one point, that other one disappeared, and the other one, like, they were appearing and reappearing and changing in shape, and then I was just flipping out a little bit because and then at one point I said, I'm gonna get out of the car, but it was so cold, my hands were cold, and my phone was malfunctioning, so I didn't get. I wanted to get out, and then I said, part of me was like, oh, do they mind that I'm seeing them? And I said, if they wanted to cloak themselves, seen they could cloak themselves, and right after that, they disappeared, faded right out, and I'm like that. And a few months.
There's a lot of
Oh my
telepathy
gosh.
involved, isn't there? Okay, I'm gonna just play now some of Lou's, and just so now there's a thing with color here, isn't there, Lou, which I found fascinating for you. But we'll see in some of the stills. See what you think, Jen, as well, when you see that.
Yeah, blue and blue-green.
The blue-green is very interesting. I've got some information on that.
Okay.
So again, people watching, this is just tiny snippets from Jen and from Lou's footage, because when I went back to gather bits from Jen's footage, it was like 40 minutes of slowed down, which was obviously a little bit too long. So I just had to choose a few, and we can go back and look at things. But people look at the edges as well, the way that the light changes and the density of the light, because it's very hard, obviously, at this scale. You have to work with pattern recognition if you're looking for form. But right now I'm just talking about the sight, of course. Luke, would you talk about how you were feeling?
So, yeah, I was lying in bed, and because of where I live, I don't have to draw the curtains, and light doesn't disturb me in the morning, so I just leave them open all the time. And as I was kind of settling down, I was looking out and I was thinking, what's that? Because it didn't look anything like this to the naked eye. It looked like a dot with lots of electrical legs coming out.
Ah, brilliant. And people, it looks like lots of different slides, that last bit, but that's one continuous bit of film, which is interesting. These are now separate slides taken from it, but that last bit was a continuous piece of film. So
I thought I would get my phone out and zoom right in on it to see if I could get a better look. And when I did that, the image that I could see with the naked eye went, and I was left with what we can see on the screen. And it was this pulsating, getting bigger and smaller and changing colour a little bit. I could just about make out a little change of colour, but not as brilliantly as you've shown here.
These I've really tried hard with your stills to keep the colour, because they were so different in colour. It did that kind of pulsing in and out a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a deep purple there, isn't there?
Yeah.
But lots of greens and blues, which are, funnily enough, my favourite colours.
Look at, for example, everyone, I want you to kind of think of something here. There is, I wonder if you can see my mouse here. See this angle? This is a shape that I see a lot in the things that I see. I'm not going to say too much in case someone's not seen anything, but eventually the eyes are going to start to see similarities, I think. So I've got a few more of these, just 3 more of this, and then we're going to go just into my first footage of seeing the being I call Elfie, who's actually 2 people. In this first footage, there are actually 2 beings there. But just so you can again see, this was in daylight, so it's a different kind of image contrast. I hope this isn't too long. Right, so you can see the kind of movement.
Wow.
This is slowed down 20%.
Well, that's unusual.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I was just blown away.
Especially in daylight.
Yeah, at the time it was just like, oh great, it's so nice you've shown yourself as an orb. That's all I said, because I couldn't see that detail with my eye on my little iPhone this size. And it was only later I was just sitting in my study with my mouth hanging open.
Well,
Yeah. And it's exciting. And I feel, there are real reasons why this display was made this dramatic. So you probably picked this up from hearing me talk, but nature has always been. I was like you, Jen, climbing the trees in my prettiest dresses, making little fairy dales wherever I could, and even though we now know Agenda 2030 and sustainability is horrible, that was my PhD, was in sustainable development, helping children become environmental stewards. So it was always my thing. Nature, let's get close. And then this other thing of being able to see dead people. So, okay, I better do something, with these weird gifts I have. And this is why I think, she's come in this sort of way. Now, sort of just looking at some of these images, this is the second sighting coming up this is where I started to see these flying bikes. And I want to kind of go back to both of your footage and have a little look. Right. So let's just scroll through. But we got that twice. We don't need that twice. Right. I think that's enough to get an idea. It's like from above. And I'll just quickly show audience who might not have seen some of the drawings I've now been making, because I'm making a children's book for my granddaughter, of course, as she's already interested. So, just sort of ideas of what it might look like. This is a sort of slightly strange rendering because I'm using all those hues of the greens and blues that seem to be to do with this dimensional shift. When I did, there's a video out now on my Rumble and YouTube where I worked with a psychic friend of mine in New Zealand, and we both got, when we were looking to talk to them, that we had to go through 2 locks of energy, like into another dimensional existence. And it was there was a blue one and a green one, just a representation of this other dimension, this other frequency of energy. And I think that's why very often they come across it with this kind of tinge. But, here's that colour there, Lou, in yours. And yet you've also got, the purples. If we go into this one, I changed the colour to try and get more image. But if you look at let's see if I can hold that now. If you look at Jen's, that was this big image you were talking about, isn't it? And then there's a strip of that pink. Did you see that color at the time?
It was more reddish, and I think it was cloaking or camouflaging itself to look like it had a red and green light on each side, but I'm like, it still wasn't behaving like a plane I'd seen. But it looked pinkish, reddish. And I saw it going towards the other one. I'm like, is it going to touch the other one? What's happening? It was pretty intriguing.
So I'm talking a bit here, but people, if you've seen what I showed you from my stuff, now people might see, and I kind of want you to kind of talk what you see more in your images now. Anyone, either of you can, speak. So, are you seeing any specific shapes? I've spent hours looking at this stuff, of course,
Might be a little, like 1 or 2 wispy beings that are sort of not fully visible sitting in the back.
Yeah, you've got these kind of rounded shapes, haven't you? You can see all these rounded
that's
ones.
true.
The light blasts into the pixels of the camera. So it takes this very large kind of pixelated, but you can even see, I hope you can see this on your end, but this is the mottled background and the pixels aren't showing. So it's just because this is a very bright light at the front that you've got that kind of squaring, but these ones are all showing in this sort of these curved systems. And again, you can see that there's that central thing and then all those little bits. But this one is the one that really blew my mind.
It looks almost like a portal.
Should I tell you what I see with this one? Because I just sent this to you, but I didn't annotate it. So that is the light for me, having studied so many of these images now, in the front of the vehicle. This is the head of the taller being. And this is holding all the sort of the various kind of steering apparatus in the front and the body and the arms. And there could well be someone behind as well. This is the kind of foot plate down here. This is the front with whatever it is that they use, whether it's a wheel or not. I haven't worked it out. I'm just drawing various things from compilations. But when that kind of popped at me, I just thought, woo.
Yeah.
But your other one also, that was the first one you sent me, wasn't it, Jen?
I think so. That's the first zoomed in image you showed me. Yep.
And you even had, look at this here. I don't know if you can see, like, these look like eye sockets. I couldn't get any more detail. This looks like person with this vehicle. Now, I don't want to get too carried away with it being on a vehicle, because some people say, fairies have wings and they fly by themselves. And we're talking about whatever we're talking about is a different dimensional being. If they can change scale, they can change color. So, I kind of want to open the floor to your ideas, having seen each other's images. Lou, have you kind of got any, or would you be unwilling to share any thoughts? Or would you be?
I think I'm a bit too new to this, really, but I mean, I haven't really got a clue what to think of it, what to make of it all. I'm just excited by it, but I haven't really drawn any conclusions as to, how I see them. Really, I'm still trying to depict all that. But as you see there, I can see something quite obvious. That's glaringly obvious to me.
Yeah, I went pretty nuts when I saw that.
Yeah.
A smudgy version.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. So what I would do is, when you make up a story, if you're babysitting children, right, or you're the mama, the children, giving them a story, and you can just pull from what you did in the day and you bring their names in or whatever. I'm sure both of you have done that. Talking to beings like this could be as simple as that. I don't know how much kind of telepathic work you do with other essences or entities, but I would encourage you to do so, just to sit down with intention and either to speak into, I just use my phone a lot, just speak into it. I started channeling a lot last year just because of who my partner is, because he was fascinated. And so it just sort of, what I'd just done privately for myself became something very public. But it's more of a practice thing, and you can find out a lot of information. And then, like, I play with my friend Yvette in New Zealand, who sees, what does she do? She goes and sees people's guides and past lives, and she'll just draw them. That's the way she's sort of clairvoyant, and she travels to all sorts of places through the universe. She just got one of those kind of wonderful gifts. And then we find all these things that fit what I've seen and heard and spoken to Effie about and what she's seen, and we kind of bolster us up in this gap of knowledge, because these things definitely exist, and we're seeing, look at that. Isn't that wonderful? We're just getting to know them more. And so I would just encourage you to ask lots of questions and to trust yourself in the answer. And I think it would be amazing if you might want to come back in a month's time and we talk about what you've discovered, because everything will have shifted anyway worldwide in a month's time, just because it's crazy, isn't it? The sort of the rate of change. What I've discovered, what you've discovered, and then we kind of put it together, because we just have to rebuild knowledge that wasn't there. And I'm doing so much of this, telepathic chatting, Lou, do you know what would be amazing as well for our audience and Jen to say where you are? I mean, it's kind of obvious from our accents, but that doesn't always say it. So I've got on Friday, I'm going to speak to Sonia from Texas and maybe Diana, who's also, she's in, actually, I don't know where she is, northeast, but I don't know where between, she's not in Maine. No, I've given it away. No. So if you could also just say where you are, because this seems to be a worldwide experience for all of us. So
I live in the United States, in the state of Maine. I live kind of a rural area. It's Noblesboro, and the place where I've seen, one of the places I've seen, because that ship I can see outside my house, and I actually saw it just yesterday during daylight, cloaked as a cloud, and then I saw it change and go up higher again. So I was checking it out yesterday, but the area surrounding, it's kind of rural. I was in Warren, Maine. Lots of pretty nature preserves in the area in the next town over, and a lot of farmland. So that's where I'm located in Maine.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I'm rural too, but I'm in Perthshire, Scotland,
Oh,
and yeah, um, and I'm on a farm, and there's no the air quality is amazing. You can see every single star in the sky at night. No, there's no light anywhere. So when you step out, you can't see a hand in front of your face unless it's a supermoon. So it's pretty stunning. And and hence why I was able to see it from my bedroom window. I mean, I was lying in my bed and just pointed my camera. It was like
yeah, that
quite
sense.
comical,
What
really.
I keep getting is like, oh yes, it's a lovely day. I'll go for a walk, and then so I've gone for a walk in a certain place up to the top of a hill, and then it's like, oh, I'll just take a camera shot, and then ta-da, there they are, because it works that way. It's like intuitive, telepathic. Hello, we'd like your attention. Do you want to say hello? No, that sort of thing. I'm in Somerset, which is also really rural, but not quite as rural as Perthshire. So I still
Mm.
have a village with various people's lights. And at night, I don't tend to see that much. I'll see the odd, just passing UFO or something, just like from, not a satellite. But that, my experience are more in the hills because of what I'm working with this land clearing. And so every time I pass, one of the monument points along these chains of energy, that were used for such horrible abuse, for control and suppression for so many thousands of years. I was on my bike today and I passed another point on this same chain of energy lines. And I thought, oh, I need to do some specific work there, because I knew that even though it's awakening the lines of earth energy, what we're doing from one point, every time I go out, I kind of put my attention there and strengthen it. But there are some really heavy duty desecrations, of soul and spirit that have gone on. So I'm probably still more likely to see these characters in the daylight because of that. But we can make contact at any point with our minds too. So I'm going to shut up now and ask you whether you've got this sort of idea of a secret dream or a wish that you wanted to do that was always connected to all these beautiful invisible beings. If we lived in that world, which we are creating, what is it that you want to be doing more of?
well, I think it's part of to this topic
Oh,
more. Another book I read and it started me in wanting to communicate with the elven beings and fae from Denmark. I don't know if you can hear me. My internet
Yeah,
might be
it
getting a
is
little
breaking up a little bit. So do you want to just go back? So it started with, and then you said something we didn't hear, which was to do with
okay. Yes, the book I recommend is called Finding Your Elven Heart by Denmark, and I just loved it, and it really gets into the elemental, how to communicate with them, and how it feels, and it's very earth based, which I appreciate because I actually took a shamanic practitioner course in 2019, and I think that was one of the most expansive things I could have done, and it was right before the pandemic. really deepened my connection with all that is, and with nature, and with the world, all the good and the positive and negative, and what have you. So definitely a book that I recommend along with the others. Now to touch in with your question for us, I think I might have, I don't know why I say it that way, because it's also so very new. Since October, I basically just felt this renewed or new fire to like plug in with my divine purpose on the grid lines of the earth, clearing
In that
and
last
working
bit,
on this.
it's cutting out all your really important words. So we got divine
Oh,
purpose and then
don't
grid
mind repeating.
lines.
Yeah. I was watching a video with a young lady channel called Earth Star Academy, and she does a lot of work like you, Isabel, with working with the grid line systems of the earth. And she just had something called the Emerald Convergence in Ireland, where she was working on this Emerald Covenant thing, and this people came together to do grid work. Hearing this video in October of her work, and I just was like, is this something I'm meant to plug into to join her program? Once I have the money, I think it would be like $2,500, something like that. And I could be a lifetime member, but the money would be going towards buying a piece of land that's sacred, that's called out to her. I think it's in Costa Rica. And then this land wants to be used as a healing meditation center to continue this grid work, continue these ascension hubs. It's one of her visions is to be and for the new earth is to build ascension hubs or healing centers all over. And so I just resonate with her work so much. She works with the ley line systems. She and Rory Duff, are you familiar with Rory?
Come across, but I can't think now.
He's lovely. I think you would really, he worked with ley lines, and they're like 10% bigger than any other ley lines, and they've been found in the US.
Dragon lines. We mixed that out, didn't we? I know that you're talking about the dragon lines.
And they've started coming on in March of this year, and they said that by the time this ley line system came online, we were going to have a mass awakening.
That was really interesting. You said that. I'm just going to put in something, because when I went up to my hill, the one that I started with just 2 days ago, and I thought, maybe I'll see Alfie again. I just thought it'd be quite nice. And I was doing some singing and so on, just having fun. And then just got mesmerized by the clouds, took them home, looked and realized, oh, whoa, that's a dragon cloud. And because I've been a little bit antipathic towards dragons, but I love the idea that it's now as though this line has now become a mainline dragon line, because that was the aim. It's like a ridge from which at all the cross points, this energy can go shooting off. The description Alfie gave me of the way that the energy moves and can travel. So you actually only you could almost just clear the whole planet with 100 people, because you start from a point and you let it radiate along these lines, sort of, the capillaries of the earth. So I love the idea that it might now be a dragon line. I'll have to obviously communicate and find out. So
yeah,
I'm glad you put that through.
I feel like that's my dream. I think I'm discovering is that I was just basically asking him, like, show me if this is part of my purpose to join in or plug in and do that way. God, show me. And basically I've just been, my own spiritual process, as I mentioned earlier. But I even wrote, I feel like I really have this desire, this part of me is like a nomad and really wants to explore. I'm making sure you can hear me. Okay. My computer was saying your internet is unstable. So yes, I have a desire to travel and go to sacred sites and to centers all around. I want to go to Sedona, Arizona, to Glastonbury, to Ireland, to Avalon in England, Egypt. Have been called to these places. I would love to go to Iceland and Sweden, all these places that are very remote, but I would love to, in whatever way the more I know more about why I'm called to these places, I feel like I'll know, okay, well, that's because this is what's needing to be cleared here and what have you. This is very new to me, but I feel called to these places, and I don't know why, but I'm like, I that needs to happen. And so I'm just
love that. My beloved man has a tour bus that he uses to get himself to places around the States. And I almost imagined having my own kind of very large gypsy caravan to travel these energy lines and go, to certain points, because if we just set off that system from one point and it shoots out and starts spreading, then you go to another point and shoots out. And all these, sites like the pyramids we think are marvelous, but actually they've had so much heavy suffering pumped into them that the more we can, refresh and release this heavy weight, the more we're changing the entire atmosphere of the planet. But this idea of us all kind of traveling these lines is very exciting to me. Lou, can I move on to you? Because I don't want to make this too long for people to listen. I want them just to get very excited by it, and then I'll bring you back, I hope, in a month or so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dream is to just be able to connect more with any being that will that wants to be heard and wants to communicate with me. I use a frequency device to help heal myself and my animals, and I want to extend that out to clients and whatnot. Again, Scotland is just stunningly beautiful, and everywhere you go here, it's just jaw-dropping. And I would love to have a camper van and do more traveling. But I think I'll have to wait until I have fewer pets and fewer commitments tying me to home. I can take my dog and one of my cats.
Sitting on the roof. The dogs and cats in their various domains looking at
one of my cats would enjoy it, but the other two would be freaked out. They wouldn't be able to handle the constant traveling. And they've been spoilt on the farm, they just go everywhere. So the confinements, I don't know how they would handle that. And they won't wear a harness, of course.
We don't even need to travel. That's another point. You can make that connection from one place, but you travel with your mind.
Yeah, you see, that's another thing. I'd love to be able to.
And it's my freedom of I can go into places and to bring that knowledge through again more and more, and that trust we can.
I'd love to be able to astro travel. Leave my body and travel like that.
You see, well, most of us, we think it's going to be some big dramatic thing, but it's actually not. I mean, it can be, but that's actually quite dangerous. I remember years ago, back in like 2000, I was in Berlin, and there was this young man I just met, and he said, I work with the wind and the waves. That was his introduction. I thought, okay, cool. And he must have set off something in me, because we were staying at a friend's house, and I just suddenly went into this kind of deep vision, and I knew I was going into inner earth. And I said, look, can you pull me out if I go too far? And he said, that's not my responsibility. You've got to learn to do that. And I thought, okay, yeah, you're right. And so I was quite careful about that, because that was my spirit vacating the body. I could feel it. But because I've done all this work with children and improvisation, that's just letting your spirit fly. That's using your, Akashic record resonance. You can get to any piece of information, because we are these souled beings. It's our soul that is the facilitator. And it's not as dramatic as we think. It's just that trust the whisper. So when you feel like you're seeing something, you are seeing something. And then you find ways to just exaggerate it a little bit so that you can trust it more. So I record things. If I don't want it to go public, it doesn't matter. And then I listen back, and it's like, oh, wow, there was a lot in there. Or I draw I'm left-handed, I'll draw with my right hand. Or just doodle, and then you look and you realize, oh, whoa, what did I draw? But you might only find that out 6 weeks later. So, yeah, just wanted to kind of encourage that. I kind of cut you off there, Lou, but
no, that's fine. It's fine. The closest I've got to anything is lucid dreaming, being able to control what happened in it. So that was many moons ago when I didn't have so many stresses, I think.
Yeah, dreams are fascinating, aren't they? But at least you can do it. And it's always this trust, because that's what's been so eroded, isn't it, from these external authorities. I have a feeling the two of you are going to just kind of open, because you're both, you're working with an energy tool. Jen, I can see your path of enlarging your knowledge and your trust in these other dimensions. And it seems that we're just allowing ourselves to be not just a matrix controlled factor owned by the government, but to become this kind of Earth international being that we can go inside and we can chat to whatever level of existence we want to, and bring back some of that remembrance so that we can help other people. Because it's just this gap, isn't it? People go to buy some apparent food from a supermarket that actually has just poison in it, and they're not noticing that they're doing that to themselves because they need to build a bridge back to the natural self. And that's what we are here to do, I think.
Yeah.
I want to say, but it may need to wait till next month. But I might just touch on it briefly before we close. I did do a brief meditation before this meeting a few days ago, and I can just touch on some of the things I saw because it's just images. I'm clairvoyant as well, and clairsentient. In the meditation, I was seeking to find out who it was we've been in contact with, and what I saw was a dragon being. And I do have a dragon guide, a water dragon, and her name's Philippe. She's like a blue-green color, and she's very potent, but very heart-centered energy, very beautiful. But one of the first things I saw was actually a lion. And I resonate very much. I'm a Leo in my Eastern astrology, so I won't be able to get into this much now, but next time. But I saw a lion. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what this has to do with the Fae, but it does. And I just found a resource, and I read about it before our meeting, and my mind is blown with ley lines. There's a specific ley line system, triple network, and the image here, you can't see it very good, but there's a tripetra symbol, like my tattoo.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And a lion, a blue stone, and a dragon, and those because I saw this blue stone in one of my meditations a few years ago, and I heard topaz, and I said, well, isn't topaz a brown gold? And I looked it up, and there's a blue topaz, and it's perfect for me. I'm on the autism spectrum, and it's about speaking your truth, tapping into creativity, and the Fae have been my creativity guides. So that is wonderful. And I think it links into, this is saying that this energies network, the triple lion networks, has to do with the Cathars and the Divine Mother's 12th gate protectors. So I'm like, this is to do with protecting the grid line system and Divine Mother.
So
many people.
Do you know the heraldic coats of arms that are very much in Britain?
Yes.
The lords and ladies and knights and all the rest had them. The lion and the dragon are the two most featured characters. And there are families that have the 3 lions in. And did you do your bloodline tracing?
My brother has, and so he's got the same parentage. And one other thing I'll mention, this might be pertinent. I asked, and I did this for all of my friends, and the accuracy was remarkable for me. I asked what my spiritual name was, and I asked God, and I got Lilia, Little Lioness, Everly Brittany. And so Lilia, I feel, is like referencing Divine Mother Mary, the lily. And I also feel that I am a Blu-ray. I've learned that I'm a Divine Mother's Blu-ray heritage. I'm a Blu-ray starseed. And that ties in with all of this because that blue color is Divine Mother's. And so I'm a Blu-ray, but I'm also a rainbow. And I feel that people that might be drawn to rainbows or see rainbows intuitively in meditations, that you may well be of the Fae lineages or the elemental or the rainbow ray. So this is all remarkable stuff.
But it's part of what this work is, and digging as deep and wide as we need to do is this connection, making connections. So the Magdalena heritage, who and what is she, and what does she stand for? For me, it was that Jeshua was one of 11 beings who came, high dimensional entities who spent time on the earth doing things, and Magdalena one of that energy. And so that embodiment has influenced souls like us who've come either attracted to that essence and therefore we turned up on earth at this time. But all the people, all the women I hang out with are like you guys. You know, we've got the M's on on our hands, we've got some kind of Magdalena lineage, we've got the love of rainbow and color, we've got, you know, whatever it is. It is a bunch of us, and we've come because we are way showers, you know, we're doing things, we're preparing, we're creating again, we're bringing this remembered information. No coincidences without meaning, it's all meaningful.
Yeah, I've recently linked in with Mother Mary over the summer, and I'm like, if you're one of my guides, please show me. And then a beautiful oracle deck with all of the Mother Mary imagery on it showed up on my. And I'm like, okay. And again, I know we're wrapping up, but Mary Magdalene has always been someone I resonated with. And someone told me years ago, my partner had told me that she came through for him, and she said that I walk closely in her footsteps. And just a year ago, I heard the name Merovingian in my mind's eye, in my mind while working. I'm like, what is? I didn't hear Merovingian before, and it is the Yeshua Mary Magdalene bloodline.
All the Cathar stuff. My real name's Mariam, but I hid it after my divorce because it was so horribly abused. So that is the Magdalena. So I've got that, you know, heritage reference, whatever, because it's like a resonance, isn't it, of soul or spirit, and we can't help ourselves but be in that way. So, Lou, have you got anything before we better wrap this up soon? Just because otherwise it's a bit too long.
No, I'm just soaking it all up and enjoying what you two have to contribute. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful meeting. Thank you, girls.
Isn't
it? You're in Scotland, you're in Maine, I'm in Somerset, and we can converse and feel and celebrate and sow seeds for some more developments.
Absolutely.
So
thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for giving me your time and your energy and your love and enthusiasm. And I hope I can get you back in, let's say, a month or 6 weeks' time and see what has transpired.
That would be exciting. Yes, thank you.
It's very exciting times ahead, isn't it?
Yeah, and it could be disaster and catastrophe, but we're the ones preventing that and making it into excitement, thrill, and beauty, and opening up this palette of color again into our world. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye.